Hello and welcome to Softvative training session. Today I'm going to cover how we can use the workflow manager to create SharePoint 2013 based SharePoint Designer workflows. So here we have the SharePoint Designer open connected with the site. So if we go to the workflow section, click on site workflows, and under the platform type drop down you can notice that it displays this message that the option for 2013 workflow platform is not available, and you can verify that in the drop down as well, that we only see the 2010 version workflows even though our SharePoint is 2013 version. So let's close the SharePoint Designer, minimize it. Now here is the Microsoft site from where we can download the Workflow Manager 1.0, which basically we have to download and install with our SharePoint, and here is the link to it. And you can see there are different files related to it, so we'll just go ahead and download the one which is relevant. So we'll click the download all the files, and we'll click allow here, and that will download all the different files. And here we have downloaded the 4 files, so we'll right click and choose the run as administrator under the workflow manager.msi file, the workflow manager.exe file, and that will start the Microsoft Web Platform Installer 5.0. And as you can see that it then brings this Web Platform Installer screen, which start the installation of the workflow manager. So let's wait for this visit to finish, and then here you can see it brings us to this workflow manager, and it displays the information about the workflow manager, and then it gives us the download size, the version of it, and the release date, which is dated to 2012. So we'll just go ahead and click options at the bottom, which brings this change options option window, and here you can see there are a few options. So we'll uncheck the help improve web platform installer option. Now under advanced web application support, there are a few there is an option, but we'll leave most of those settings as is. And at the bottom you can see there are a few options related to the which web server we would like to use. So we'll leave it as IIS because we have the SharePoint installed. So we'll click install, and that will begin the web platform installer 5.1 window, and it will bring that screen, and it will download the components, the prerequisites, and then it will start the installation of those components. As you can see on the top, so we are on the second step. Now we have moved to the configure step, and here you can see it gives us a product summary. We click the button at the bottom, which brings us to this workflow manager configuration wizard screen, which gives us 3 options here. So we can install the workflow with the recommended setting, or we can use custom setting, or we can join an existing workflow manager form as well. So in our situation we'll use the recommended setting option, and with that option we'll just proceed the installation of the workflow manager 1.0. and also we can choose in some scenarios the custom setting option as well. Again, you have to look at the business requirements and review the workflow manager documentation. Now on the next screen, which is new form configuration, it displays the SQL Server name, and we'll hit the test connection, and you can see it has verified the connection information. We'll enter the service account name. So in this case we'll use the same account which we used for the SharePoint form. So we'll just enter the password for that form under that configure service account field, and then at the bottom we'll check the box which says allow workflow management over HTTP on this computer, because we don't want to use HTTPS, but for the production deployments or for more security conscious deployments, we should leave it to HTTPS. Here we'll just go ahead and specify the certificate generation key, and in this case we'll just use SP 2013 workflow, and the key here is case sensitive, so here we'll just go ahead and paste it here, but make sure you use generation key which is secure, and save that at some secure place. I'll click next, and which gives us the summary of the workflow, and we can review all that information. So you can see it displays the authentication, it's Windows authentication. It gives us the information about the management database, and then it gives us the information about the incident management database. Then at the bottom, resource management database, and if we scroll down, we'll see the ports, the 12290 and 12291. Those are the two workflow management port, and at the bottom the configuration for service bus, that is listed as well. And we can choose the copy or get permission, get PowerShell command option. So we can click copy, which copies all the summary information, and we'll just save it in a text file at the same location. So we'll call it workflow configs, and we'll just paste that configuration which we copied in the previous step, just so that we have all that configuration saved as well. So let's go ahead and close and save the text file. Now back to the summary screen, we'll just go ahead and click the checkbox which basically applies all the setting which we've gone through in the wizard process. So here you can notice we have multiple screens open, so do not get confused with the multiple windows of the workflow manager during the deployment. So make sure the workflow manager configuration wizard screen, that one should finish. The one screen you see right here in front of us where the blue color bars are moving. So for simple deployments, it's pretty straightforward. You can deploy it, but for form involving multiple servers, make sure you use the load balancer even for the URL which is used by the workflow manager, and make sure to follow all the best practices, and you can review the TechNet information. So we'll just click the finish, and then we'll close the windows, and here we are at the end presented with this web platform installer 5.0 window, and you can see we have options to install other products from here as well, and under the spotlight products and applications there are different options, but we'll just go ahead and exit out of it. So we have the workflow manager installed, so let's review some other information. Let's review the Ias settings. So we'll launch the Ias manager, go to the sites, and here you can notice it has created, the workflow manager deployment has created workflow management site, and on the right side you can see it is running on two different ports, one for HTTP and one for HTTPS. And here you can see is the PowerShell command which we have to run to connect the workflow manager with the SharePoint. Now let's go through the SharePoint designer here. So we have installed the PowerShell, but if I go to the workflow, if I create any new workflow, let's say pick the site workflow, you can still see that we don't have the 2013 option. The reason being, we have installed the workflow manager, but we haven't made a connection between the workflow manager 1.0 and the SharePoint 2013, and that is something we need to do. So we'll open up a new tab and go to our central administration website, and we go to the application management. We'll click on manage service application under service application area. We'll scroll to the bottom of the list, and then we can notice there is a workflow service application. So if we click on it, you can see it will bring the information status screen where you can see it displays that workflow is not connected, and it displays a message that it requires a compatible workflow manager, and it has a link as well. So if you click on the link, it takes us to a Microsoft site where that's MSDN Microsoft site where we can review the configuration of the workflow manager as well. So let's move back to the central administration home, and let's go to the manage web application. We'll highlight our SharePoint 80 site and click on manage, click on service connections, and at the bottom we'll make sure that the workflow manager workflow service application is connected. So here we'll just type the command, and here notice that we are not we'll put the information, we'll remove some extra parameters, and our SharePoint site is not running SSL, so that's HTTP, and let's hit enter, and here we got this error that the root of the certification chain is not a trusted root authority. So we set that up with the HTTPS. We set up the workflow manager URL with HTTPS. So let's go back to the Ias manager for a second, and if we click on sites, and if we click on workflow management site and click on binding, then you can see that there is a HTTPS site, and then that one is running at 12290, and we can view the certificate of it as well. So that certificate is okay. So that's not an issue with the expired certificate, and here you can see we can review some other SSL certificates as well and pick a different one in case if we need to, but there is a different deployment process for that. And the other port is 12291, which is for HTTP without the SSL. So we'll just go ahead and enter that command without the SSL port, and here you can see we were able to successfully connect, as you can see in the background in the command prompt, and then we have those commands. Now if I minimize, let's go back to the central administration website. I'll go to the managed service application, and now if I click on workflow service application, then you can see it displays the message that the workflow is connected. So now I can close my sites and go back to SharePoint Designer and connect with my SharePoint site. Click on workflow on the left under the site objects, create a new site workflow, and at the bottom now you can see it displays the SharePoint 2013 workflow beside the SharePoint 2010 workflow as an option as well. So that's how we can add SharePoint 2013 workflows in SharePoint Server 2013. So I hope you must have enjoyed this session, and thanks for watching.